How's it going? Yeah? Okay. You guys, I have a confession to make. I'm going to start by making a confession by telling you secrets from my dark, dark past. And this is a secret that I've had for probably about 8 years now. I've never told anyone about this ever. And so I figured, you know what? If I'm going to tell someone, why don't I tell a room full of people? And then why don't we record it and put it up on the internet so anyone can see it, so that all of my creepy, creepy past can be out for everyone in the world to see. When I was at college, I was known as a procrastinator. That is not my secret. Everyone who really knows me knows that I'm a procrastinator. I was the king of procrastination. That's the thing that I did best. And the library at my school was from 8 in the morning until 2 in the morning. And I was never, ever there at 8 in the morning, but I was frequently there at 2 in the morning. There were a lot of cool things about the library. The library had a lot of books. The library was usually a place where you could study quietly. The library was open until 2, which was something I liked. But the coolest thing about the library was that the library had this thing called an egg chair. That is an egg chair. They call it an egg chair because it's shaped like an egg, and you sit in it. And the egg chair is really cool. It looks pretty comfortable, right? In addition to all of that padding providing a lot of comfort, it provides a lot of sound absorption. All right? So you can't hear what's happening around you. The egg chair comes around your ears and blocks out your peripheral vision. So you can go to the library. I go to the library. There'd be like 500 people in the library. And I would get the egg chair and turn it right into the corner, and I wouldn't hear anything, and I wouldn't see anyone or anything happening around me. So I could be in this room full of people and not have any clue what was going on around me. And that's what I needed to study because I was a little ADD. I'd see someone out the corner of my eye and be like, I wonder what they're doing. Hey, what are you reading? What's your name? You want to be friends? Let's go play Frisbee. You like Frisbee? So what I needed to do was be in the egg chair and be completely isolated from anyone else with all my books on the floor, just reach down, pick them up, and I would study. I'd study a lot in egg chairs. Sometimes the egg chairs got a little bit funky smelling, but that's beside the point. One night, this was during midterms, I had this huge midterm that I had to study for, and I said, you know what? Egg chair. So I went down to the library at like 11 at night, because, of course, that's the time when you would want to start studying for something really important, is 11 o'clock at night. And I go and I find my favorite egg chair right in the corner, swivel that bad boy, so the only thing I can see is my book and this boring white wall in front of me. I can't hear anything. I can't see anyone. This is the ideal study environment. Now, I'm not really sure what happened next. I started to study. I'm pretty sure I started to study. And the next thing I knew, I'm opening my eyes. The library is very dark, and I look at my watch, and it is 4 in the morning. Now I'm in trouble because I know the library is closed. I don't know how they left me there, but I'm in the library, and I can look from my egg chair, and I can see 3 security cameras from where I'm sitting, and I'm thinking, I've got 2 choices here. I can stay in this egg chair and wait it out until 8 in the morning and then sneak out like I just showed up, or I could make a run for it. And I still had to study, and it was way too dark to study, so I said, I'm going to go for it. So I take my sweatshirt off. I tie that bad boy around my face so the security cameras can't pick me up as some side of a criminal. And I just take off. I get about 3 steps, and all of a sudden, this just makes me run faster. The masked bandit running through the library. And I run out of there, and I run to the nearest dorm I can find, which is not my dorm. I just run into the dorm, throw this sweatshirt into the dumpster as if they're really going to come after me, find a friend, borrow his clothes, change into all of his clothes, hang out for an hour, and then walk very coolly and calmly back to my dorm at like 5:15 in the morning. So this is the confession that I want to make to you, and this is what actually happened. That's me. They wrote an article about me in the newspaper of the school. Campus police are investigating a break-in at the Cranmer Memorial Library shortly after 4 a.m. early Thursday morning. How many of you have been in the paper? Police are unsure how the suspect got into the library undetected, because I am sneaky, but do have surveillance tape of a masked man, yes, fleeing the library and heading toward the Corey Brett's dormitory. Nothing appeared to be taken or damaged. At the end of the article, there was a phone number where you could call authorities with more information, but I have redacted that. It means taken it away, because I do not want you to get on your phone and get me arrested. I just don't trust you that much. So my question to you is, how many of you have ever fallen asleep at an inappropriate time or an inappropriate place? Be honest. Raise your hand if you've fallen asleep at a time or a place when you were not supposed to be falling asleep. This could be a movie, at dinner, in algebra. If you're not raising your hand, I'm going to assume it's because you're sleeping right now. We've all done it. We've all done it, and that's going to bring us to the story of the Garden of Gethsemane, where we're going to talk a little bit about Jesus. We're going to talk for the next couple of weeks about the things that Jesus experienced during his very last day of life. It was not a good day. It was a bad day. You think Jack Bauer has had some bad days? Try taking Jesus' last 24 hours. Guys, this is a train wreck. It just makes me feel terrible when I read it. And I used to read these stories as these isolated stories. This is something bad that happened. This is something bad that happened. And this is something bad that happened. And then it clicked with me one day that all of these terrible, terrible, awful things happened in the course of about 20 hours. Every terrible thing that's worse than anything that's ever happened to me happened to Jesus in the course of one 20-hour period. It starts at the Last Supper. Jesus is trying to explain to his disciples, he's trying to tell them a little bit about what's going to happen. He's trying to explain to them that tomorrow he's going to die. And that's when we find out that these guys are morons. They don't seem to understand what that means. They give a crazed look. They don't really know what's going on. Jesus says, no, you guys, you don't understand. By tomorrow, I will be dead. And then a dispute rose among the disciples about which one of them was the greatest. Guys, I'm going to be dead tomorrow. And then a dispute rose among the disciples about which one of them was the greatest. I mean, get your mind around that for a second. These are Jesus' BFFs, right? And he tells them he's going to die, and their response is to argue about which one of them is the best disciple. That's not how I want to go down. And then he says to them, guys, by tomorrow I'm going to be dead, and I want you to do one thing for me. Now, you and me and most of us, if we had a friend who was going to be dead tomorrow and said, I want you to do one thing, we wouldn't even ask a question. We'd say, whatever you want, you got it. At least that's what I feel like I would like to do. And Jesus says, this one thing I want you to do with me. Let's go out to the garden, and I just want you to pray for me, because this is going to happen. I can't change it. I just want you to pray for strength, pray for peace, pray for calm, pray for this to be as easy as it possibly can be. He says, will you go to the garden and pray with me? And they say, yeah, of course we will. And instead, they go to the garden, and maybe they start to pray, but what happens is that they just all, oh dear. Sorry, Tommy, that's my fault. This was going to be really cool. So what happens is they start to pray, and they all just fall asleep. They all just go to sleep. Jesus says, tomorrow I'm going to be dead. And I want this one last thing for me. Will you go pray with me? And they all fall asleep. At the moment when Jesus needed them the most, they failed him epically. They failed Jesus. This is not unique in the story of the Bible, and it's not unique in the story of our lives, and I think it hits a little closer to home than most of us want to admit. The bottom line is this. I believe that God is asking you to do something. I believe that God is not happy with who you are right now. He wants you to be better. He wants you to be different because none of us are perfect. And if God wants us to be different, that means that God is calling us to do something. And the choice that you and I are going to face most of the time is, am I going to do what God's asking me to do, or am I going to take a nap? That's what we get faced with. You're going to have a chance to go home and do something good, or you can take a nap. Now, I don't know what that thing is. For you, it might be dropping a $5 bill into the Lubo jar or keeping that $5 bill in your pocket. It might be signing up to go on a mission trip or staying home in your pajamas and watching cartoons. It might be something that God's asking you to do this afternoon, or you can take a nap. Now, guys, these people, Jesus' friends, they failed him. They screwed up on him, and he saved them anyway. And no matter how many times that you screw up, God's grace is bigger than that. But just because God's grace helps us when we screw up, it doesn't make it okay for us to screw up. And at some point in time, I believe that people who love Jesus are going to do something right for him. And I see no reason why it can't be you and me, and why that can't happen right now. So you're going to go to your small groups in a few minutes. You're going to talk about some of these things. There's some really good questions in there this week. I want you to figure out what you think God might be asking you to do, and I want you to figure out how you can make sure that you do it. One thing that I talked about last week is the Ignite mission trip. If you are an 8th grader or above, you are welcome to come on this Ignite mission trip. It's just $30. You can go, or you can stay home in your pajamas, whatever. I'm going to be out there after your small groups to talk to you about it. I want you all to find something that you think God is calling you to do and figure out how you can make sure that you don't fail God. I'm going to pray for us. God,